Well, good day again to you all. Simon Bliss here, Chair at Team, and this is one of our follow-up on our Fireside Chat programme. And I'm very pleased to say I've got John Doherty from ATP Technical with us today. John's also a Regional Director for Team, and I've known him well over the last couple of years in our South Central region, Surrey and Hampshire. And through those connections, I've found a really interesting story about your project that we're going to come on to, your MSP project. But John, thank you for joining me today on the Fireside Chat. If you could tell us a little bit, just a short brief on your experience and your story in recruitment and how ATP came about, and then we'll move on to the MSP story.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was reminded by my wife that it's the start of my 30th year in recruitment this year, which is extraordinary how fast that's gone. So where it all started to change, I've always done technical, but I set up a business in 2000, 1st of January 2000, with 3 other business partners. And that was CBS Butler, which we took to £52 million turnover business. And we sold that in 2017. And what that gave me, Simon, was really an option to start to think about the things I wanted to do rather than what I had to do. And so I set up ATP, and ATP's all the people. So it's a diversity-based business. Over 60% of our positions that we've filled in the last 3 years have been women and members of the minority parts of the population, so not white males, basically. So that's what we do. And then we the bit that's really been my passion has been the shortage of the diversity problems in the STEM sector, and it's a generational thing. It's not going to be something fixed overnight. So I go into schools. And it's probably I don't get paid for it. I do it on a voluntary basis. So once a month, I go into a local school, and I've got about 6 of them now. And I give a short careers presentation to somewhere between 10 and 12-year-olds to get them engaged and get them thinking about a career in STEM. And it's the best thing I do. It's just a joy. And the questions I get asked are more complex and difficult to answer than I get from business professionals. So that's what we do. And it's like I say, it's just something I can afford to do now, and it's a joy.
Well, tell us, and you and your partner Simon have developed ATP. You've got a core. Just explain a little bit about the core sectors you work in.
Well, it's aerospace, engineering, manufacturing, bit of automotive. So anything that's niche and unusual. And I was speaking about it yesterday to another business associate, and I've basically ended up doing business with companies that, if my maths and physics was any better at school, I'd want to work for. And I think we've got a shortage of people out there, which has always been the case. There's nothing new in that. It's having an offering to a candidate that they can. It's something different, and maybe even makes them look good and interesting down at the pub. And that's really where we are. So it's quite a diverse portfolio, but the thing they've got all in common is that it's all very interesting and quite difficult to do.
Cool. And let's talk about your MSP project you got with that client, because for a 2-man business, it was a story that I was really excited by and motivated to share with some of our other members and the wider recruitment sector as well. So tell us about the MSP project.
Well, I've had a long-standing relationship of about 20 years with this company. It's a mid to large size aerospace company. They've always got vacancies like many others, but they'd identified about 25 vacancies which were business critical, and they really wanted a dedicated approach to it. And this came up just through general conversation, and they told us about the implications to the business of not finding these people. So the conversation took went forward and we put forward a proposal where we would just dedicate not just me and my business partners' time to it, but we had partner agencies, specifically within the team network, that I felt that could confidently put forward a proposal where us and our partners would work on a dedicated basis. And and they liked the sound of it. They knew what like an MRO and they're not an MRO. That's something else entirely. There's too many three-letter abbreviations out there. But an MSP type setup was not what they wanted, because the other vacancies they could deal with, but these 25 could spell a very expensive and very painful period for them if they didn't get these people. So that's what we did, and we met up with all the line managers face to face, got real in-depth understanding beyond the job description as to what they really wanted in these individuals to fill these roles. And we replicated that briefing word for word out to the partner agencies within team, and we filled over the 6-month project, because some of them were highly niche candidates. We filled 22. But when the project came to an end, we still had candidates in process. And in the end, we filled 24. And then 6 months on now from that project, we've actually got a guy in advanced interview on that 25th vacancy. So, and we're very pleased with it. And we've already starting to talk to other companies. In fact, I had a meeting only yesterday with an even bigger company in a similar space of defense aerospace, who are very interested in us doing the same thing. So
I think that's brilliant, and of course that's had a dynamic difference to your revenue stream from that client, who I think you sold. You used to do a few specialist jobs a year, but all of us, that's 25 additional jobs, isn't it? It's fantastic, and wonderfully supportive to the team network, who got good revenue from that project as well.
They did. Yeah, it was great, and it gave those partner companies an avenue that they hadn't worked in before as well. They realised that they had something very different and very interesting and engaging to talk to candidates who, quite frankly, were being approached by agencies every day. And the jobs that we had and the company that we were talking to them about did something genuinely very different, and it gave them I suppose a more compelling story to tell a candidate that has multiple choices, and this really helped.
Yeah, I think you've hit on a couple of key points there. If another member was thinking of taking on an MSP project or RPO project similar to this, some of the challenges might be, what's the company got to offer? What's their value proposition for candidates? And if it's a bit dull and it's not very sexy, and perhaps the salaries aren't great, that might be a challenge. But if following this, if any of our members are thinking of doing that project, would you be open to having a discussion with them? Just giving them a few tips and guidance on running something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we one of our team meetings only tail end of last year, where our regional South Central meetings, one of the newer members was having a very similar conversation with a customer of hers. She was in I think back office support, IT and accounts, and she was actually quite intimidated by what her best customer was asking her of.
Wow.
And so I said, well, look, just talk to them about what you need out of it. There's an opportunity cost, and which a phrase she'd never heard of. So I helped her through really using terminology and an explanation as to what her business was about, which allowed her to talk to a customer about her business projects and plan. And she landed it, and I think that's going extremely well. So a bit of coaching and sharing worked wonders.
And how we're in a new year now, John. How are things for ATP this year? What's your what are your thoughts about the market that you work in, and what are the challenges you see?
Yeah, great question. To be honest, in broad terms, I don't think the challenges of this year are much different from any other over the last 30 I've seen. The bottom line is there's a shortage of people, but hey, that's why I've got a job to do. So that's no different. I think there is a clear pressure on pay.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. And this cost of living is not going away. We've all seen and experiencing just a basket of groceries for to feed ourselves and keep the house heated, etc. And that is definitely having an effect on candidate expectations. And I think what we're seeing is people, quite reasonably, to be fair, in the main, asking for a higher percentage salary expectation in their next job that's over and above what that percentage might have been last year and the year before. And that is probably what I'm seeing and hearing more so than anything else.
Cool. And so what do you think your biggest challenge is, or opportunity? It could be a negative or a positive, for 2023?
I think it's keeping that conversation with customers, because their current, because from a recruitment perspective, the customer's big issue is retaining their current people as well as adding to their current people. So the conversations we're having about a candidate that they are thinking of hiring is, from a salary expectation perspective, is actually the same conversation and challenge they've got internally with their current workforce. So on that basis, I think if you start to think about it in that way, it shouldn't be a difficult conversation, because I think a lot of recruiters talking to customers about what they think their customer doesn't want to hear can be quite intimidating. But I think if we realise that we're going to be talking to our customers about something they're already experiencing as a challenge, it's never a bad thing to have to talk about.
I also think that brings you that's a consultative discussion rather than a transactional one.
Absolutely. And I think if you could talk to your customers about something that's perhaps not just about selling in your best candidate of the week, you're talking about more economic issues and problems in the marketplace, and sharing your market knowledge, it's far more engaging and far more interesting for you.
Well, John, thank you very much for that inspiring story. And hopefully you've already inspired and supported somebody else in your region for doing that, thanks to that face-to-face meeting. But hopefully this will encourage others to have a look at some project MSP or RPO opportunities that they've got with existing clients that they understand the DNA of and they can work with in partnership. Creates fantastic value. So thank you for today. All the very best for 2023.
Thank you, Simon.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Always good to talk to you. Thank you again. Bye-bye.